Morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time of day it is. Thank you for tuning in to Conversations with Dr. Don. This show is produced and broadcast from the Portland, Oregon metro area in the US of A. Now, for your first-time viewers, Conversations with Dr. Don is an ongoing series of 1-hour standalone talk shows where I interview interesting people like most of you out there about who they are as unique, one-of-a-kind individuals and about whatever it is that we have decided to talk about. And tonight, my guest, Keylong, did I pronounce that properly?
That sounds pretty good.
Is my guest for the evening. And he was on some time ago, and I've almost forgotten how long ago it was, but we had a good time with you, and it's time to have you back on again because of what you've been doing with your life up until that time and what you've been doing since. So we got to bring us up to speed with what's going on, and if you're continuing the fine work you were doing the last time you were on the show.
Yeah. Dr. Don, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. How are you feeling right now?
Very good. Feeling very, very good.
You're not
I'm
nervous?
very excited. Oh, I'm always nervous. That's my whole life. Nervous is my middle name.
You seem so self-possessed, so relaxed. Yeah.
Thank you.
So we're going to do the usual show about the first half hour or so, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. We'll talk about who you are and where you came from in Cambodia and the Khmer Rouge and those kinds of things, and what you've done with your life so far. And then we'll get deeper into what's going on in the second half of the show with some questions to ask you about to do with what I know about you so far. So let's get started with the bio section.
Okay.
Now, even though you've answered these questions before, it's been a long time, and we have some people who are looking at you on YouTube. In China, for example, I've had some feedback from China and other parts of the world, and they want to know more about you because they don't see that show we did 10 years ago.
Okay.
So let's see. And you know, I ask a trick question now and then, see if you're on your toes. And if I ask you a question that you don't want to answer, you can say, I don't want to answer that.
Okay.
Telling me to get lost or something. But so let's see if we can start here. And your full name is?
Keylong.
Keylong. Any other names?
No, that's good enough.
It's going to be that kind of a show, I can tell.
Yeah, well, you know, people at home, sometimes they call me Dong, but now, and then some friends that call me Key, but formal full name is Keylong.
Have you been complimented before about the richness of your voice? You have a nice, rich voice.
Trying to keep up with you. I don't usually talk like this.
Let's just end this show right now. You sound great. Good voice, good rich voice, yeah. And if I were to ask your best friend, who is Keylong? What would your best friend say? Keylong is?
Well, I really don't know what they would say, but I know I know what I would say.
Guess what your best friend would say.
My best friend would say.
Give a guess.
I think people would think that I am loyal. I'm very friendly, easy to approach, often agreeable. If there's something I disagree with that best friend, I would find a way to talk about it in a way that is constructive, and eventually I think it's either, but basically I would say it's a very, very nice guy. So I like to think that my best friend said Keylong's a really, really nice guy.
So he would say, if I were your best friend, I'd say, oh, you asked me about Keylong. Keylong is a really nice guy, and I'm glad he's my friend. If I were pretending to be your friend, that's what I would say from the little I know about you.
Yeah.
All right. So and we know you were born in Cambodia. When was that?
I was born sometime between. It's in the early 60s. We don't have a record of it, but if I have to guess, I would say probably 1960.
And that makes you how many years today? I can't count too good.
Let's not. I have a math degree from Reed College, but I can't calculate my age. So let's move on.
All right, okay. I got a trick question for you.
Okay.
Why were you born?
Good question. I don't know. Sometimes I think back, not so much of why was I born? Why am I alive?
Yes, that's
And the more I think about it, I think there is a purpose.
What is
I think
that
there is a
purpose?
calling for me.
A calling.
And I am not so sure yet. However, everything that I do today, I do have a purpose. Everything that I do today, it's, well, if we can jump ahead a little bit about the genocide that killed 2 million people.
Well, let's
right?
save that for later. You can mention it now, but let's save the discussion about it later on in the show.
Right. But if you want, we can come back to the purpose. But basically, it's about everything I do today is all in the memories of those people that did not survive and in honor of my fellow survivors.
Yes.
So I don't know why I was born, but I know why I'm alive. I have a purpose.
Okay. Yeah. I never heard it put quite that way before. And my purpose is to be kind.
To be kind.
Yeah.
I'm honored to be right here.
Okay. And will you say a little bit about your cultural heritage? You're different than an American white bread. So how about your cultural heritage? And you're Cambodian.
Well, there's so many. I mean, we can be here the whole month to talk about this. You know, there's so much in terms of difference. But I think in America we tend to be sort of individually. I mean, our life is, we live our life individually, and we celebrate with family within ourselves. Where in Cambodia, where I grew up, everything we do is more of a community oriented. So let's say New Year, for example, we would celebrate with everybody in the village, as opposed to just, you know, dinner in a family, with the family, you know, behind closed doors. So it was a lot more of community oriented.
Yeah.
So I remember growing up as, you know, whatever I did wrong, my parents would find out about it because the neighbors and
they tell on you.
Yeah, so it took a whole village to raise me as opposed to just my parents.
And then, what kind of a job did they do raising you, the village? What do you think they did? Did they think they did a pretty good job or a lousy job or what?
Well, at the time I thought they did a pretty lousy job because everything I did, no matter what, I thought I did everything right and I was still getting spanked. So at the time I thought they did a lousy job, but looking back, I think they had instilled a lot of good stuff in me. So,
yeah.
And here I am. It's really is the product of what they did. So.
Brothers and sisters, do you have any of those?
Yes, I have. I had 7 sisters, but the youngest one did not survive the genocide. So I had, right now I have 5 sisters left, 4 of them in Cambodia and 1 here.
And you talk to them fairly often?
Not as much as I like to, though. With the Facebook, however, you know, I'm able to post things, and my nieces and nephews, they pick it up and they would tell their parents, and so they have been keeping up with what I'm doing, and I've been keeping up with what they're doing. So.
And your mom and dad are gone?
My parents were gone. Yeah, are gone.
Oh my gosh, it must have been. I can't imagine the blow. I can't imagine. Yeah. Do you have a religious preference nowadays?
Not really. My kids and my wife, they go to church, and I occasionally go to the Buddhist temple. But you know, I have no preference. I mean, people, if they want to talk good stuff to me, I listen. If they talk about things that's violent, it's talking about things that condescending, they're talking about things that divide, I just, hey, go have conversation somewhere else.
Sure.
I'm more interested in peace and love and caring and stuff like that, regardless of whether you're religious or not.
Did you have a particular religion when you were a little boy growing up?
Yeah, actually I grew up with a monk. I ran away from home when I was little, and I went to live with a monk, and I was raised by the the pagoda master, and so my upbringing was in Buddhism. But after the Khmer Rouge, you know, they did away with religion, and for that period of almost 5 years, and I've done plenty of praying. But
Yes.
so you know, not that I don't believe in religion, not that I don't believe in God and all that stuff. It's just that I have my own personal issues, and I got resolved. There's some questions and answers that I have to work through this, and I don't think anybody would be able to help me get through this. This is something I have to work through myself, and I accepted it, and in fact, I've learned to enjoy that challenge and learn trying to figure out who I am and the purpose of why I am here and all that kind of stuff. So,
And what you're using is what you were given genetically and what your mom and dad gave you.
yes, yeah.
Okay.
Well, since we're talking about religion, it's
Sure.
it's kind of interesting. I might as well bring it up.
Please.
I was so proud of my daughter. She just got baptized last summer. Now, my wife wanted to baptize the kids when they were baby, and I asked her to, you know, respect me and just wait until the kids are older and they make their own decision. And then
Sure.
last summer, my daughter said, I'm going to get baptized in the river, and, you know, so I
Which
went and
religion
watched.
was
It
you baptized in?
She's going to the Church of Nazarene.
Yeah.
And
And I believe if a person tells me their church or their religious affiliation, and from what I know about them, they're living a
Yeah.
loving, decent life,
yeah,
then that is a successful religion.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bottom line.
She's really happy. She's very, very pleased with it. I'm so proud of my daughter.
Why?
It's very smart. I mean, she's, you know, old enough to make her own decision. You know, she also had a 8th grade project that actually raised money and built a basketball court in Cambodia.
Really?
Yeah. She's in high school now. And, you know, now my son's listening over there and say, okay, well, you know, you're proud of your daughter. You know, there's plenty of stuff that I can say about my son too, but we'll be here all day, right?
How many kids do you have?
I just have 2 kids, but very fulfilling. It's more than I ever need, and plenty. I got plenty from those 2 kids.
And how old are they?
They are 15 and 17.
Yeah. You going to have any more?
No, I'm done.
That's enough?
Just like I said, I got plenty out of those 2 kids.
Yeah.
I'm very, very proud of them.
Say a few words about your formal education.
Well, provincial Cambodia. I finished 7th grade, and just from my memory, I didn't finish 7th grade. I had French as second language. I learned a little bit of English, but just very little. And then within 5 years of genocide, pretty close to 5 years, during that time, you weren't allowed to speak any foreign language. So by the time they got done, I just don't know anything of it. And I was terrible in math. This is why, you know, most of the time I got spanked just because I was flunking math. And, you know, the fact that I got a math degree from Reed College is really kind of like ironic.
I was thinking about that. You showed them, didn't you?
Yeah. So, you know, I came here actually, I had to learn arithmetic all over again. You know, addition and subtraction was easy, but when it got to divisions and stuff and percentage, it was gotten a little bit hard. But my sister here kind of got me through it. And once I get over, you know, the hump, and then all of a sudden it was like, it came back. And I always thought, you know, one of the things that my parents would be so proud of me would become very good in math, because I got spanked most of the time just for not doing, you know, not getting good grade in math. And so.
So what does a spanking consist of in your culture at that time? Was it a whip or a stick or a pat on the butt, or what was a spanking for you?
All of the above, including spending a couple hours in the chicken coop.
Let's leave that.
Yeah. Well, in this country, it would be considered a child abuse, but you know, there it was acceptable, and I got spanked every day by my parents, and I got spanked by all my sisters except the youngest one, and you just kind of getting used to it.
Was there love along the way, along with the spanking
Oh,
and the
yeah.
disciplining?
Yeah, yeah. My parents, there's no doubt, and all of that stuff. You know, when you get spanked, it's kind of like, really, I'm not sure. You know, you're telling me you love me, you do all of these things, and you're telling me it hurts you more than it hurts me. You know, just kind of question all these things, right? But then when the Khmer, when we went through the hard time throughout the genocide, and that's where the true love coming out. My mother would put her life out. You know, if there's a little food, she would give it to me instead of eating herself. So, you know.
How old were you when they were taken from you?
I was a teenager.
Yes.
Yeah. 15, 16-ish.
I can't even imagine what that must have been like. I lost my father when I was 6 years old, but I had him those early years. And then Mama died when I was 14 or 15. I lost track. And I know what those losses meant to me because I was a baby of 12 children.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But to have lost my parents by being killed by the government or the authorities is a different story, so I won't even go there. It's I can't imagine. So you have an advanced degree then, don't you?
Now I'd here, not in Cambodia.
It's a quick jump there, huh?
Yes, I do. I have a master's degree from Reed College, and I have applied statistics, a master's of applied statistics from Bowling Green State University.
Mm. It calls back memories that on my doctoral program, I had a hard time getting through my advanced statistics requirement. And I had to keep being retested, but the professor said, every time you retest, I'm not going to give you the same test again, so it won't do you any good to memorize. And I finally got through it on the third attempt, so the statistics does something for me. But since then, I found that I love statistics.
Yeah.
But until then, enough about me, let's talk about you. And you've been working, what are you doing now to earn your keep? What kind of work do you do for a living?
I'm an insurance agent. I provide, I help people with insurance and financial services.
And how long have you been doing that?
I've been doing that since November, 2013. Last, so what is it, over a year now?
And it's working for you?
It's working great. I like it. I enjoy doing it. It's a whole ball game. It's totally different than what I used to do. You know, I used to build online banking software, so you don't really interact with people. You know, general public, you interact with your colleagues, other engineers, and you speak engineering languages.
Yeah.
But you don't actually sit down working with people trying to solve their personal, their personal needs, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I love it when I get to tell people and say, when my clients, ask me, well, tell me, what is it that you like doing so much here? And I say, I like to help you, right? Help you protect what can go wrong and invest in what can go right. So right there, when you're talking about purpose and stuff, and all of a sudden, I've been doing consulting, I've been doing engineering, software, and all that stuff, but nothing as satisfied as this. When you get up in the morning and say, today I get to help people protect against what can go wrong and invest in what can go right, all of a sudden you're thinking, you can help people make a difference in their life. It's like, that's my calling. That's my calling.
And you see the result.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Love it.
And you have 2 kids and a wife?
I have 2 kids and a wife. I met my wife in Cleveland High School. I met my wife at Cleveland High School.
That's in Portland.
As in Portland, yes. So we dated for about 10 years, and we've been married over 20 years now.
Oh my gosh, that long.
Yeah.
What do you think of her? Look right in that camera and tell her what you think of her.
She's my best half. I am where I am today because I have the greatest support in the world. So I can't say enough about it.
Yeah, I can see it in your eyes. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Couple of touchy questions you may not want to answer.
I don't want to answer it.
I haven't even asked the question yet. Yeah, political persuasion. Are you left, right, or centrist, or what? And some people have a position on the political continuum, and others just don't care.
I do care. I do care. I'm left, I'm right, I'm in between. Depends on the climate, depends on the situation, depends on stuff. A lot of stuff that you hear people posting on Facebook, and they go out and protest, and a lot of those things, as a genocide survivor, a lot of those things means very little to me.
Yes, that was a dumb question.
No, it's not. It's a very profound question, in my opinion, because you're asking some things that it's what dictates our life every day, the things that happen every day, right? Mm-hmm. So where you stand in your political ground makes a big difference. Mm-hmm. Some people, when they meet me, they don't think I'm a political person, but in some way, in my own quiet way, I am. I do have size. I just don't share with people very much. Uh-huh. And when I talk about politics, both politics and religion, I always talk in a constructive a constructive tone, right? So when there's some things going on, I want to make sure that my contribution to that discussion, whether it's religion, politics, or war and peace and all that stuff, I want to make sure that my voice is contributing to promoting peace.
Yes. Yes. I knew it. I just had to have you say it.
That was a great question. I like it.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have any memberships in political or social or civic organizations? Any of those things come to mind that you can mention now that the viewers would be curious about?
Well, if everybody wants to know, I am a Democrat. Think like a Republican, and sometimes independents, and I have friends across the party lines. And sometimes I got called in to speak at Tea Party event.
What?
Which is fine, because I'm not, when I go and speak at a political rally, I don't promote that party, whether Democrats or Republicans or Tea Party. When I go out, I share my story. It's a platform for me to express how I feel, express about, just kind of like right here. It gives me an opportunity to share my story and hope people put things in perspective. You wouldn't believe, sometimes I talk to some Americans and they're concerned about, political climate. Now, America's a spiral downward, it's going to go to hell and all that kind of stuff. And then I bring up my story and I bring up my perspective, and then I calm things down a little bit. America is greater than most people think. America is safer than a lot of people think, right? Regardless of who in the office.
Yeah.
And it changes every 4 years, right? 8 years the most.
Well, we can debate whether it's seriously changes every 4 or 8 years. But anyhow, that's why I always open my shows with the American flag, because I'm grateful for what I have. Being fortunate enough to be born in our country.
Yeah. So, but to answer your question truthfully, besides that, what affiliation do I have? I am a member of the Rotary Club of Portland. I am a member of the Royal Rosarians, a member of the Cambodian American Community of Oregon, and a number of other organizations. So.
You're a joiner of those good organizations that
Those-
have a good purpose about
Those
them.
are great organizations. Rotary, for example,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
making difference all over the world.
I was a member of Rotary some years ago
Yeah.
and dropped away for some reason or
Yeah,
other.
yeah.
A couple more questions before we take a break and then get into the serious stuff.
Yeah, okay.
How about any persons from the past or alive today that you particularly admire or admired? Any names come to mind?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Local, national, worldwide, whatever. School.
So many. Oh, wow.
Name me a couple of three.
If I have to name three, I would say my parents
Uh-huh.
and my sisters.
Okay.
My father, my mother, and my sisters.
Why?
Well, for obvious reason. I mean, I am who I am today because of what my parents instilled in me.
Yeah.
I am a hardworking person just because my mother was a hardworking person. I persevere over hardship because my father did that. So I grew up watching my parents going through all of these things. And then my sisters, you know, they are the one here, for example. I mean, she actually brought me across the border. And I had other sisters during the Khmer Rouge. They were, a lot of stuff I do today, some of my best friend, that one best friend you mentioned, probably think that I am selfless. And that I have to give credit to my sisters, because all my sisters were that. They would put me ahead of themselves. They would put other people ahead of themselves. And because of that, it's pretty much it's part of the habit that I do. It's not like I'm trying to do good things. It just, I grew up like that.
The model was there for you.
Yeah, I don't know any other way other than that, so.
Yeah? Yeah, okay. We're going to take a break for a minute or so and give my director a break, and then we'll come back and talk about
Okay.
Cambodia, Khmer Rouge, and what you've been doing and what you're doing right now. So can we take a break, Mr. Director? Okay, we're back. Thanks for staying tuned. And for you viewers who missed the opening of the show, you're watching Conversations with Dr. Don. And this show is an interview of interesting people like most of you out there. And we'll talk about whatever it is that they want to talk about. We're doing that now. And we'll go on from here and now talk about the title of the show and Cambodia and genocide and a whole bunch of other stuff. So. But I wanted to ask you this in the first half of the show. You've got a letter by U.S. Senator Ron Wyden, and it's quite a letter. It's he says he's writing to the ambassador of the World Embassy of Cambodia in Washington, D.C. He says, I am writing to recommend the appointment of Keylong as Cambodia's honorary consul in Oregon. Cambodia's honorary consul in Oregon. How come he thinks this way about you? Senator Ron Wyden, that's beautiful. There's more in here, but I won't. I'll let you say which one about it.
Yeah, I'm very, very honored and very grateful for that endorsement. I don't know.
Okay.
You know, it's hard to say why I deserve such such endorsement.
Think about it. You know why. Be modest. You got it, baby. You got it.
Yeah, Serge Drovencourt is an honorary consul or former honorary consul or honorary consul emeritus for France, and he's a member of the Rotary Club of Portland, and he came to me and he said, you know all the things that you've done, you should represent Cambodia as an honorary consul. And that's how everything got started, and we've been kind of talking with the Royal Ambassador of Cambodia in Washington, D.C., and he had come to participate in some of the fundraising that we did for to build schools in Cambodia. And after a couple of trips over here, met me and got to know me a little bit, and he agreed with Serge and said, yeah, maybe you should represent Cambodia, and that's how it all started. And then when we asked Senator Wyden to write a letter, and this is the result of it. So.
Yeah, you're glowing.
I know
That's
that.
really a high honor. All right, let's see what's happening in Cambodia today.
Well, lots of stuff going on in Cambodia. I don't even know where to start, but I can tell you this, though.
A couple of comments.
When I left Cambodia, Cambodia didn't have bank, well, actually a lot of people didn't even have food to eat. Now Cambodia is different. The sky rise going up, you know, buildings, banking, electricity, technology, all kind of stuff's happening.
And people are eating?
Well, just keep you, in some places like Phnom Penh, for example, it looks just like Portland.
And people have shelter?
People do. I mean, you know, like any other country, in America, we have homeless. In Cambodia, we got homeless too.
Sure.
And we have rich people, and we have middle class people, and so.
Generally speaking, are you homeless or poor people at a small percentage of the population?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Sure.
I really don't know. But all I mean, you know, relatively speaking, Cambodia, you know, how old has it been? If you start thinking the day I left Cambodia, that's 1979, right? Between 1979 to now, it's only, what, 30 years or so, right?
Yes.
30 years, and the country has gone from starvation to fast-growing, you know, economy in the world, and that's, you know, got to give them some credit for that.
Do you go back?
I do. I go back every other year or so because of the school. I don't get to visit my family very much when I went back.
You're busy.
Yeah.
What about the schools? Say something about these schools you've started.
Oh, sure. Well, I like to think I've started, but really isn't. It's the foundation that a lot of people contributed to this. So I want to make sure I don't take all the credit. I just want
Well, we'll wrap it up. What is the foundation?
So, well, I published a book. Can I show?
Yes, yes.
Show?
I'll hold it up for you.
Okay. So, I published this book in 2009, and then 2010 I got to be on TV, the Deadliest Warrior show, and also was selected as Woodstock author 2010, and that was the year I also rallied some support, and we established a foundation called the Golden Leaf Education Foundation.
Say that again, the Golden Leaf Education Foundation.
Golden Leaf Education Foundation, yes. Otherwise, sometimes we call it GLEAF, and some people call it GLEF. I pronounce it GLEF. LG, But since then, we have built 3 schools already. We just started the 4th school. We also built 2 basketball courts, one of which was, as I mentioned earlier, was my daughter's 8th grade project. So. And a number of other things like, you know, the Rotary Club chip in to help with the water projects and and some other stuff as well.
How do you not manage to play golf and go wandering around and vacationing all over the world? Instead, you're doing this work.
It's my time will come.
It's rewarding.
The golf time will come. Yeah, it's I have to do this. It's like I said, you know, the 2 million people that died, right? I survived. My parents died. 10 people in my family were killed. 50 relatives were killed. And all I want to do is to go play golf. It's kind of, I just felt like all of that stuff had happened in vain, you know. So I'm just trying to get some purpose out of this whole mess.
It sounds like you've got some purpose.
And this is certainly working, you know. I don't have a nightmare anymore like I used to. Kind of got over it because of the things that I've been doing.
And you did for a while?
For over 20 years, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Nightmare. I mean, if you want to put a label on it, you can call PTSD if you want.
Of course.
Because you know, it's pretty serious stuff.
It couldn't get any more serious.
Yeah, I put it all in the book, you know, about stomach ache, about all that stuff. But
well,
but
I'm
now,
going to have to get this book then, because I don't think you
Yeah.
gave me a copy.
Well, I'll send you a copy.
What a crooked way to beg for a copy. I was aware I was doing it, you know.
I just didn't want to, you know, I feel like when I give people a book, it's kind of like I'm imposing. You must read this now because I give it to you. But if you ask for it, I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's useful to hear you say that, yeah.
But doing all this stuff, it got me away from being a victim to a person of purpose. I'm no longer a victim because I'm able to leverage what almost killed me, right? I garnished the power that almost killed me into something beautiful, like building school, like getting people to have perspective, getting people to contribute their kindness to making a difference in, you know, other part of the world. And to me, I think it's, you know, looking back, it's almost, I hate to say this, it's almost like surviving the genocide was a gift. It's starting to feel like that now.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
I hate to say that because that can offend a lot of survivors.
Okay, but you're walking in some pretty important footsteps as far as I'm concerned personally.
Thank you.
Because my heroes, I say to my viewers too often, are Jesus, Gandhi, and Martin Luther King. Those three, for starters. There are some more.
Yeah.
And the footsteps that they walked were loving and caring for fellow human beings,
Yeah.
and so on. So I like to think that I'm walking in those footsteps as best I can.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're a model to get to know and hang out with.
Thank you.
Let me ask some more of these questions here.
Okay.
Yeah. And you told me about when you came to the United States. What was it like to be a refugee in this country when you first got here? What was it like?
There's a number of things. It was kind of exciting because it was new. It was kind of scary because there was a lot of unknown.
Yeah.
And there was a very steep learning curve because, you know, not even know what's supposed to do when you stand at the traffic light. Am I crossing? Okay, yellow light. What am I supposed to do with a yellow light?
And you were just in your teens.
Red and green, okay, I get it. Red and green, you know, it's universal. Green, go, red, stop, right? Yellow, what's that supposed to mean?
Challenge.
Should I run for it or not?
And you knew about that running for it, didn't you?
Yeah. But, you know, the best memory I had from being a refugee in this country was I felt like I was a kid in the candy store. There was so much around me. I didn't have a whole lot. I mean, I had nothing. I was on welfare for, you know, the first half of the year, or almost a whole year, right?
Uh-huh.
So I didn't have a whole lot, but everything was new. Getting on the bus that was really cool. I mean, I used to walk miles and miles in Cambodia barefoot, you know, uphill both way. And now, you know, getting on the bus, back then it was like, what, a dime or so to get on the bus? And it was like really cool. And I was riding the bus. I'm on the bus now. I'm just keep going the bus.
Don't make me get off.
Yeah, and it was a lot of stuff. I mean, I just go to the park watching people. People were fascinating because they were different than I was, right?
Yeah.
People holding hand, they show affection out in open and everything. I just came from a genocide where it was in a culture, it was under a regime that you couldn't even display affection, display emotion. And then you got here and you saw people holding hands, loving each other and all that kind of stuff out in the park. Kissy stuff, but you know, it was beautiful. America was beautiful.
A whole
to
new
me,
world.
Yeah, it's like heaven. You know, so today when people saying, "Oh, America's going to hell," I always take, okay, America today compared to America when the first day I came here.
Yeah.
And then well, it's not that much different, really. The fundamental stuff is still there.
Yeah, there's still the struggle going on
It's
behind
still
the
same.
scenes.
It's just that back then I never seen America before. Everything was beautiful, and now I'm getting used to America. I'm taking a little bit for granted.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I always reflect back to that moment. It's kind of like, okay, it hasn't changed that much. It's fine. Price go up a little bit, but
Never mind. How did you get to be recognized as a refugee and got to come to America? What was the process?
yeah.
How that happened?
So when you're a refugee, I don't know refugee today, but in those days when we went to the camp, the nonprofit organization would sign you up to say, hey, which country you want to go to, France, United States, et cetera, and they would help us find sponsors.
So you had a sponsor in this country.
And we, I believe World Vision was the organization that actually helped us get out of the refugee camp.
Mm-hmm. You glad?
Very glad, very glad. They
I asked
found
dumb questions.
Yeah, I shouldn't answer that question. I should say I don't want to answer that question.
Yeah, never mind.
Okay, of all the questions you've asked, that one's a dumb
Dumb one.
question. We can call that one.
What was your first big dream after you came to America? Your first big dream?
My first big dream, honestly, was to be able to speak English really well, because I didn't speak English. And when I went to school and I, walked through the hall and I, saw the high school kids talking to each other, and this is what I've heard. But it sounded so cool. And that was my biggest dream ever. It was like, one day I will be able to speak English like those kids.
And you speak it better than they do now.
Well, I don't know it's better, but certainly that was the big dream. And then
and you made it happen.
Oh yeah, I studied very hard, trying to speak as if I had my way, if I knew as much English as I know now, I would probably major in English instead of math.
And you would excel in that area also, I'm sure. Yeah, you got something in there that's unusual. You've changed. Do you live with a purpose? We've talked about that, and what is your purpose? And we've talked about that a little bit, and I think I'm clear. Is there any further thought about your purpose in life?
Yeah, I think it's still the same. It's all you talk about your hero, and Jesus was one of your heroes.
Yeah.
And you're trying to live up to that heroism, right? You model the footstep.
Sure.
So as a Christian, you probably feel that Jesus is always around you, or God is around you all the time. For me, as a spiritual person, I always felt like my parents are around me. Right? So they're with me all the time, what I do and things like that. So, I'm not a perfect person. I won't tell you things that I've done that's not perfect, but every time when I get out of line, that pops up. It's like, hey, your parents watching you.
For me, it's a Christian with a small c rather than a capital C. The difference being capital C, Christian, some form of religion that's based on Christianity.
Gotcha.
But I'm talking about Christianity as I think Jesus would endorse nowadays, simply loving fellow human beings. Yeah. I want to make that distinction because I see myself religiously as an agnostic or an atheist rather than an atheist, which is a pejorative, So I'm an independent. I think I'm like you are, if I may.
Okay.
So I'm open all the time, and I'm available to change my view or my opinion anywhere along the way from now on. Because thank goodness I had the freedom to change my opinion earlier, and it was for the better. And if I change it again, it'll be for the better again.
I've just learned a new thing about you.
What?
I just got educated. Thank you.
Really?
Yeah. That was very, very, it was very interesting interjection, and I like that.
Thank you. You changed careers 3 times, and of necessity or by choice did you change careers?
Well, it's always by choice, but I don't know, it's necessity. I think it's just sort of a natural progression. So, for example, when I get out of, when I got done with college, I didn't know what to do, but I got recruited by, a consulting company, one of the big 6. And so, hey, opportunities here.
Of course.
It's kind of like, okay, opportunities here, so I don't know any other opportunity, and this is new. Imagine a refugee went to college, went to graduate school, and right before getting out of graduate school, you got an invitation for an interview, so you go and interview. That's all I knew, right? So it wasn't really a choice, that opportunity came. So again, maybe some of these things were kind of leading me through to where I need to be. So that was the first career out of college, and went to work for a big 6, one of the big 6 consulting firm, and then after 4 or 5 years, I was traveling all over the between United States and Canada, and it wasn't quite the life I wanted to. So we changed that from consulting to software engineering. And then this opportunity came along to do insurance and financial services, and I interviewed for it, and it fits like a glove, and I thought, well, you know what, why not? So I think part of it is just the fact that I have survived the genocide. I have worked in the slave camp. I was a slave. So it's almost like anything that you throw at me, I'm going to take a shot at it. Right?
So there is such a thing as fates. The fates are always operating somewhere in the background. When I look at my life and what I've done, it's my decisions and all sorts of other ingredients. But then there's some things that we have no control over. It's fate.
I do believe that. I do believe that you don't have full control over your life. And to be successful, you have to believe that you're in control of your life. You at least you got to put up that appearance. You go to work and you're going to say, I take control of the day, right? I'm going to conquer the day. I'm in control. I'm in charge, right? Well, fine. Between home and work, you have an accident. That's not in your control. Now your day changes, right? Same thing. I wanted to go to a university, but I ended up at a college. No, seriously.
Poor baby.
It's in the book, really.
I will learn more about this.
I really wanted to go to university, and I got accepted to University of Oregon and Oregon State University, both are universities, right? Now, college in Cambodia, it's not a good thing. So when Reed College came to me, and I was like, well, I'm not so sure about college. I want university, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing as this. Because I was active on the social network, on LinkedIn, and sorry, I mentioned the name.
That's okay. That's generic almost.
Sure.
Anymore, like Xerox, for example. Yeah.
But the company found me, and so I went through the interview process and everything, and so I ended up with this career. So.
When I get your book, I'm gonna. I have 3 stacks of books and priorities. And when I get yours, I'm going to do it, because I have guests sometimes offer me books and they're okay, and sometimes it's not that interesting for me. And now and then there's one like you, and I've got a few of those through the years, and I make it a point to read.
Yeah.
Because of how you are and what you are and what you've done with yourself, what you're doing with yourself today. Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
I'm going to do that. Do you believe in reincarnation?
Wow, interesting. That was a curveball.
You got it. You got it. You don't have to answer that.
Well, I want to answer that because I really don't think about that very much. It's like my life, other than trying to make a difference, it's really, when it comes to me, it's like day to day, I don't think that far. However, I grew up in a culture that actually believed in reincarnation.
That's why I asked the question.
So, in fact, I have been told that I was reincarnated from the other brother who died before I was born. How interesting is that? And then there's a whole bunch of story about they want to make sure that brother was born again, so they dotted his head with a mark, and then when I was born, it got birthmark and all that kind of stuff. So a whole.
Listen, I'm from New Orleans, and there's all sorts of goofy stuff going on down there, and that gris-gris and witchcraft. And I forgot what I was going to ask you.
It's about reincarnation?
Yeah. I don't dwell on reincarnation. On rare occasion, the question will come up, particularly in conversation or just BSing with somebody. And I always say, well, I'm not sure about reincarnation. I'm not sure about many things. But if I were to come back, I'd want to come back as a Labrador Retriever.
Wow. Why is that?
They're so beautiful. And
really?
So friendly, and they have a perpetual puppyhood.
Wow.
You ever see a Labrador Retriever who is 8 or 9 or 10 years old? They're still like a puppy, happy all the time.
Very careless, right?
So if you were to come back, what would you come back as?
Wow. I think I would like to come back to be, I would like to have my son's life. My son and my daughter's life. I look at their life. I so desire their life. I thought it's. We don't have a lot, but in terms of where they are, I think their life is beautiful, and I want that so much. Growing up like that, and it's. So I think maybe because I was trying to make up for what I missed as a child, and trying to make it up in them. So, yeah, if I come back, I would like to have one of those lives. And of course, being Dr. Don's pretty cool too. Get to interview and talk to people all the time. So.
Thank you. I'm aware of the time, and we should be winding down now before the director yells at me. And do you have any final thoughts or comments about anything went on tonight or anything else to the viewers? Just look at the camera and say something to them, whatever comes to mind for you.
Yeah. If you don't mind, I'd like to kind of read that paragraph, if that's okay.
Please do.
Okay. Because you were asking about, faith and all that kind of stuff, and also kind of explain the definition of golden leaf as well.
Can you do that in about 30 seconds or so?
Probably 10 seconds. So I'm going to just read it.
Yes, okay.
I was a leaf at the mercy of the wind. The wind carried me from one remote part of the world to another. It blew me through turbulence and catastrophic weather. It took me to a Khmer Rouge labor camp and lingered for an eternity. It dehydrated me and nearly starved me to death. I helplessly watched the most devilish mothers of all winds ruthlessly crush my tree into lifeless pulp. Like an almighty Olympian god, when the wind wanted to toy with me, it blew me through minefields, rockets, and bullets. While 2 million leaves disintegrated, I persevered. Through an extraordinary journey, I discovered myself. I am fortunate, and I don't easily perish. I was a golden leaf. Against all odds, I survived, laid down roots, and became a tree.
We have time for a couple of PSAs. I'm kind of rushing public service announcements. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're
My
a great
pleasure being
guest.
here. Thank you.
To get my show local broadcast schedule, go to my website, www.donvan.com, and click on Present Day Activities, my local broadcast schedule. And to watch my shows on the web, go to Don Baham YouTube. There's hundreds of shows, and click on a particular show that you like to watch. And the American Civil Liberties Union, I think the American civil liberties are in jeopardy with what's been going on in our government and in the powers in Washington, and we got to protect our civil liberties. And to get my shows broadcast by other stations, where you're watching this show, ask your local public access station to go to www.pegmedia.org and follow instructions there. And learn how to end corporate personhood, go to movetoamend.org. So we can end corporate personhood. And it's time to say thank you for watching. Oh, kind, friendly, and charitable. I got to remind you of that. KFC, and not Kentucky Fried Chicken, Dr. Don's KFC. Kind, friendly, and charitable. Be kind. Be friendly and be charitable to you. And thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. My pleasure.